just introduce yourself to our viewers, please?
Okay, hi, I'm Peter, also known as Britelite in the Demoscene. I've been active since the early 90s and a member of like Decadence, Alpha Design, and previously in RNO and several other groups.
Yeah. If you remember, what was your first encounter with computers?
Well, my dad used to be a teacher, and in the 80s, and he taught computer science. And he always had a computer at home. So the first computer I remember is he had a Texas Instruments TI-99 or something like that, and later he got an Apple II. So the Apple II was probably the first one I actually played on and used.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the moment you first saw a C64 in action?
Yeah, I think it was in the late 80s in elementary school. Some of my friends had C64s, so I went to their house and played with them.
Yeah. What attracted you most in the beginning? Programming, games, or?
Well, of course, because I was a kid, so so games were, of course, the main thing. Yeah. Because they were kind of a new thing back then in the mid 80s or so.
How did you transition from being a user of the machine to wanting to create things?
I think that was the first machine I actually had for myself was a PC back in I think I got it in 89 or 90, and a friend of mine had an Amiga 500, and he got some demos for it, and of course I had previously done the type-in listings from magazines and stuff like that. But when I first saw demos on my friend's Amiga 500, I was like, yeah, this is something I want to do. I was so intrigued by having visuals synchronized with music. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, I only knew BASIC back then, so I tried to do stuff in BASIC and with very little success. But yeah, that was the beginning of both active programming and the demo scene for me.
Yeah. Do you remember the first thing you created on the C64?
Well, I got the C64 pretty late in 94, I think, and the first thing I did was a scroller. Yeah. And that was typed in from, there was a tutorial in one of the Finnish computer magazines that told us how to do a smooth scroller, and I typed that in and did modification, and that's how it started on 64 for me.
Yeah. Britelite, what is the story behind the name?
I think it's pretty much, I think I had another handle before that, which I won't tell because if someone happens to find something I did. But yeah, Bright, I think it's pretty much from the movie Gremlins. And I just thought of spelling it differently because I had already found, I think BBS chats and IRC had the 9-character limit. Mm-hmm. So Bright I spell like it is now was a pretty good choice, although I had a hyphen in the beginning between bright and light, but then I dropped the hyphen probably in 99 or 2000. Mm-hmm.
How did you get in contact with other sceners for the first time?
Mainly through BBSs in the 90s, because I lived in a quite small town of Porvoo here in Finland, and I didn't know any sceners. I knew a couple of friends they had gotten demos from somewhere, but they were not active sceners. So when I started calling BBSs in 92 or 93, I stumbled upon more demos and kind of saw in the chats and everything that there were other people. So that's how I got in contact with them.
What was your first group and how did you end up joining it?
Well, first group, it was a group that I and a couple of friends of mine founded ourselves. I think, I don't remember if we had any other names in the beginning, but Nightmare Productions was probably the first group we used when we released something. But that was mainly only tunes and some graphics that we released under that name. And the first group that we actually released something with was Alpha Design, and that was in 96.
What was the biggest challenge for a newcomer entering the scene when you did?
Well, for me, yeah, pretty much that I didn't know anyone.
No, exactly.
So of course, the BBS thing, but I could only call BBSs every other weekend when I was visiting my dad, because he lived in Helsinki, and there the phone charges were like, you only paid per phone call during the weekends, so it was really cheap to call BBSs. But in Porvoo, where I lived, it had a per minute rate, so my mom didn't let me use a modem as much.
Exactly. Are there any rival groups that have pushed to improve over the years?
Not maybe rival groups, but of course let's not maybe rival, but for example, Bytrapers and Beyond Force on the 64 were a big influence on me, because I love the Beyond Force demos. They had really good, funny scrollers, so I spent a lot of time reading those, and Bytrapers, of course, when they released Extremes and Unsound Minds at Assembly in 95 and 96, that's when I knew what kind of demos I wanted to do.
Yeah, I was going to ask who were the local heroes you looked up to, but I guess that was them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Even though they were local to Finland, but not maybe to to where I lived.
Yeah. What made the Commodore 64 special to you?
Well, it's a part nostalgia, because that was the first machine I saw crack intros on without realizing what they were. And I also think I saw a demo in the 80s on the Commodore 64 without knowing what the demo actually was. So, I started my C career on the PC, but the Commodore 64 it was at Assembly 94 when I saw the Commodore 64 demo compo there, that I thought that, yeah, this is more my stuff, because I was already seeing the trend that you needed faster and faster PCs to keep up with the PC scene. But on the 64, you had a fixed platform, and that sounded way more intriguing to me.
Was there anything you missed from the 64 after you started doing Amiga productions?
Not really, because I didn't quit the C64 because of the Amiga. I still. But and that's why also in the beginning. In the early days when I did Amiga stuff, I did those for the group RNO, because I didn't want to mix platforms and groups. That was just later when I noticed that no matter which platform I made on or which group I made it was always the same guys doing the stuff anyway. So we thought, why not just release everything under Decadence?
Which platform gave you the most satisfaction as a creator, if any?
That's a hard question.
This also leads into which is more fun to program for.
Yeah, I think I made demos on so many platforms already that I think every time I start on a kind of a new platform, that's the most intriguing and the most satisfying, because I get to explore new areas. But in general, I think I learned the most on the C64. So I would say that was probably, at least in the beginning, that was the most satisfying platform to code on.
Okay. Which machine would you recommend for someone starting to code demos today, and why?
Well, I think Commodore 64 is, of course, a really good option if you want to do hardware coding. But I also think that these virtual consoles like TIC-80 and Pico-8 are pretty good if you're a beginner, if you don't really know that much about programming, because you can quickly get something on screen. So I think they are so simple that it's. I think for a newcomer that would be the best bet.
Good choice. Which machine has the most enjoyable games, and which are your personal favorites?
Of course, for me, as the PC was the first machine for me. I have a certain kind of nostalgia for old shitty PC games.
Yeah,
Yeah, those weren't there was definitely not the best, but it depends on what kind of games. I think that the Commodore 64 and Amiga had a because I'm really a big fan of the pinball games, and I think the Amiga did those best.
Yeah. Is there something the C64 community does better than the Amiga community and vice versa?
Well, I think nowadays all the communities are pretty much like there's not that much of a difference because people are maybe a bit more open-minded now. But back in the days, I think the 64 community was more helpful. But that was, of course, because the Amiga scene in the let's say the early 2000s wasn't that active. So whereas the 64 scene was maybe a bit more, so it was easier to get help if I needed some help. But it's not like the Amiga scene were full of assholes or anything, but it's more that there were less people active on the Amiga in those days, so it was easier to get help on the 64.
Yeah. A lot of people know you from your Commodore work. You also spent time coding for the Atari ST. What drew you to that platform?
Basically, I've been collecting like computers since the mid-90s. And I got an Atari ST pretty early on, and I liked it very much. And I still have I still want to make a demo for every single machine I own. And I still have a list of 20 machines that need to have demos on them. So yeah, and but for the ST, I think it was partly the Atari, because I had already done quite a lot on the Amiga, so it was easy to start on the ST because the same CPU as the Amiga 500, so it was easy to port some of the effects to it, and it poses a different kind of challenge because the Amiga has its custom chips, and that's its own thing, and on the ST you pretty much have to do everything on the CPU, and I think that's a challenge.
Yeah. Are there any aspects of the Atari hardware that you enjoy as a programmer?
Yeah, kind of the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
Because on the Amiga you have to keep track of the copper lists and the custom chips in general. The ST is, I think, more straightforward and kind of it's easier to get a grasp of it. And yeah, it's a bit more straightforward, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. You also have a brother. Who got into computers first, you or him, or both at the same time?
Probably me, because I'm 5 years older. So
yeah, okay, yeah.
So yeah, it was of course me, but he of course was forced to use computers already at a pretty young age. And of course when we started playing games, so he also wanted to join. So.
Yeah. Were your parents supportive, or did they think that the two of you were wasting time with computers?
Well, at least my dad, because he has worked in the IT industry for the whole time, first as a teacher and then as a programmer and so on. So he was very supportive, and he knew that having a good knowledge of computers would be very handy when I started to try to find work.
Yeah.
And he also helped me get my first summer jobs also in the industry.
Cool. Do you ever compete with each other?
Not really, because we work more as a like of a team, because I usually do the coding and he does the music, and he's also capable of doing quite a lot of graphical design. So of course, when we were younger, we probably compete a bit more, but I think we both had, because he was more of the music guy and I was more of the coder guy. So I think in that sense, we never had direct competition in a Demoscene kind of sense.
What's the funniest argument you two ever had about the production? There must have been something.
I don't think we ever had arguments, but I have to think a bit. Of course, we clashed a bit during more during the planning phases, because we both have pretty strong visions and but yeah, nothing major. at least yet.
Yeah. Is there a story your brother loves telling about you that you'd rather never hear again?
I think he probably has quite a lot of stories of me being drunk at parties, for example.
Yeah.
but then again, I have stories of him being drunk, so it evens out.
Which release are you personally most proud of?
Hard to say, but one highlight was higher state of resolution on the Amiga, because even if I do think we would have needed one day more, because I wasn't able to iron out all of the text, but I think it came together very good. And also another one was the Kioea demo that I made for Mad Wizards. That turned out really good, and I had never done such a big demo before. So those are, and of course in the early days of the Commodore 64, I think Beer Time 2 was the first time I think we made a track mo on the 64, and and it was probably one of the first demos we actually did as a team, because usually I just got music from someone and made everything else myself. But with that demo, we actually I mainly coded, Speaky did the graphics, and Sound Demon did the music. So we spent the whole time, the three of us at my apartment back then, and coded the demo almost from beginning to end.
Which production taught you the most?
Probably the Beer Time 2, because that was an experience on how to also work together with other people. Having done everything pretty much solo before that, and also because it was a track mode, so I had to think about flow quite a lot more. It wasn't just like presenting one effect after another, because I had to take all the loading breaks into account when timing the demo. It's not, of course, not perfect, but it was it was a good learning experience.
Yeah. What was your first demo party experience like?
I think my first demo party was Assembly 94, and it was quite a good party to start with, because it was a big party, and I was trying to go to Assembly 93 already, but I was only 15 back then, and Mom didn't let me go unless a friend of mine would join me, and I asked Chai of Decadence if he would come, and he would have wanted, but I think he had something else that weekend, so he couldn't join. But we went together to Assembly 94 instead.
Yeah. What was your favorite demo party memory?
Well, I think Assembly 99 was the party itself was a bit of a disappointment, but that was the first time I won anything at a bigger party, because I won the 64 music compo back then, and that was a really good feeling.
Yeah, I bet.
First time I got a production shown on the big screen at a big demo party, and also winning the compo. So that was a dream come true.
What is the funniest or just weird thing that ever happened at the party that you might have witnessed? Or
Well, there's quite a lot, but already the Assembly 94 was it was held at the Helsinki Ice Hall. And they didn't clean the toilets during the party. So during the I really needed to use the toilet during the last night between Saturday and Sunday, and I couldn't find a toilet that wasn't clogged. It was terrible.
Yeah, I bet. I've been there, done that.
It wasn't funny back then, but now I can of course laugh.
Are there any skills from the Demoscene that have helped you in your career? Anything you learned?
I think the size coding skill, I have done quite a lot of embedded work, so that has been a useful skill, and also that my Demoscene stuff in general has pretty much gotten me all my jobs, because having won released a lot of demos and stuff, that's a really good CV.
Definitely.
And of course, nowadays when everything is on YouTube, you can just link link people the demos you made to show that you don't program for as a job, but you also do it as a hobby. And I think that's quite a good skill to have.
Definitely. Are there any unfinished demo projects that you still think about?
Well, not unfinished per se, but there are quite a lot of projects that I do have like planned out in my head that I just haven't gotten around to doing yet. For example, I have a few platforms that I would like to make something and I have a pretty good idea what I want to do on them, but I just need to find the time.
What drives your curiosity to jump into a new machine?
Well, as I said, I have quite a big collection already. So, and we have a list with my brother at all the machines we want to make something on. So, I think we more kind of look at what parties are there, depending on where should we release something for a certain machine, and also of course it helps to pick up a machine that has, for example, a same CPU. That's something I have already programmed on.
Yeah. What keeps you interested in the demo scene still?
Probably the fact that I have done this my whole adult life, and even back in the as a teenager. Of course, the interest is goes in waves. So now I have unfortunately been busy with other stuff quite a bit lately, so haven't really had time to make any like major demos. But it's that happens. But yeah. I've always loved the demo scene, and I can't see myself quitting it. Even if I slow down, I don't see myself like not following it.
Good. How would you like to be remembered 20 years from now?
Well, I hope at least as a nice guy, but also kind of I would like people to remember that I at least like made stuff on many different machines. I didn't get stuck in my ways at just programming on one machine. That I really loved all the platforms.
Every group has coders, musicians, organizers, etc. Which role do you think is the most underrated in a group?
At least back in the days, in the 90s and 80s, I would say the swappers were probably underrated back then. But they played on traders because they played quite a big part in getting before the internet to get everything like spread. Because that's something I think my really early productions only spread via BBSs and only probably in the Finnish Helsinki area BBSs. So if we had some kind of active swapper back then, I think maybe our stuff would have spread better, and that's also the reason why a lot of my tunes, for example, that I released in the 90s are gone, because I don't have them anymore, and they're not on the internet either. And I think quite a lot of music, and especially PC demos, have been lost to time because they were only on a couple of BBSs.
Decadence has become one of the most recognizable groups. Did you ever imagine it would still be active decades later?
Yeah, kind of, because I kind of knew that I wouldn't stop, at least completely. And but yeah, having gotten this big, but yeah, in the beginning I couldn't have kind of imagined that we would be so kind of well known as we are.
Yeah. Organizing parties, why did you become interested in doing that rather than simply attending them?
Well, that's all about like giving back to the community also, but yeah, it started with I think the first party we organized was the Decadence 5 years party in 2002. It was really small scale and invite only. I think we had 50 people there max, but we kind of noticed that it wasn't that like impossibly hard to at least organize a party at such a small scale. So that because of the positive experience we had, we organized several parties during the years after that, but always kept it pretty like small scale.
Did you have any mentors or experienced organizers who showed you the ropes?
Not really, because I didn't personally know that many party organizers back then. But of course, having visited quite a lot of parties, I of course took note that what would I want to improve and what not to do, and try to like. And I think for a few years I had already kind of tried to peek into behind the scenes at what's really happening here.
What was the biggest surprise when you got involved behind the scenes?
Well, kind of how easy and how hard it was at the same time, because I was expecting everything to be really hectic, but of course at a small scale it wasn't that hectic. But then when shit hits the fan, then you can easily get really stressed out. And of course, later on when I joined the assembly compo crew, I had to like throw out quite a lot of preconceptions I had about organizing small parties, because doing things at the scale that assembly does that's a very different beast compared to like a small 100, 200 people parties.
I bet. How has assembly changed since your first involvement?
Do you mean involvement as in like when I first went there, or when I joined the organizing?
When you joined your organizing?
Well, I joined organizing in 2012, and I was there for 10 years. And I think during that time, the party itself, of course, I think it changed venue once, but the party as a whole was already pretty much what it is today. That it's not just a demo party, but it's not just a LAN party either. It's more kind of I would call it kind of a festival. There's something for everyone.
Yeah.
Of course, gaming has gotten way bigger than the demo scene there, but I still think it's good that they at least have something for the demo scene.
What was the most stressful moment you've experienced as an organizer?
Well, it's pretty stressful because I don't want to mess up anyone's demo. For example, I want everything to work so that whoever made something can be proud of it. And the most stressful moment was probably during the online assembly, because you couldn't talk to people like in person. So everything happened via chats and stuff like that. And we had a couple of guys entering the compos that weren't. I think they were under a lot of stress, of course, and they would have rather been there, but they were really nasty to a couple of us via mail and and not for a fault of ours, because they just didn't like follow the rules, or they didn't care about them. So, but yeah, but I do understand that it was a stressful time for everyone during the pandemic. So,
yeah. Do you have any funny behind-the-scenes story that you can share?
Oh, hard to. I think because everything has run pretty smoothly. But I don't have any horror stories, at least. But then again, can't come up with anything like
no
special
problem.
right now. But I always had a lot of fun, because the people I work with at demo parties have always been great people. So I just remember the overall that we had a good vibe going.
Have you ever watched a production and immediately realized people would still be talking about it years later?
Yeah. For example, at Assembly 96, when Byte Rapers released the Follow the Sign 3 or Unsound Minds demo, that was it was so I don't know if people talk about it anymore, but it was such a huge demo for several years, and really influential on me. And I knew that this will be a classic. Then another thing was the second reality Commodore 64 version at the party 97. And when I saw it on the big screen, I knew this will this will be talked about.
Yeah, yeah. How important are demo parties to keeping the scene alive?
I think they're very important because you can't just do things like online. I think it's really important to meet people in person. So no matter if it's big parties like Revision or small local parties, I think it's the personal connection and the social aspect that makes the scene what it is.
What do newcomers gain from attending the first party that they cannot get online?
Well, the social connection, I would say. Yeah. And also, especially if they're entering something to the compo, because seeing your own production on the big screen instead of like on stream is such a huge experience. And I still get nervous, for example, during compos. I'm still nervous at, will they show my demo? Will it work? And that feeling, even if it's kind of a stressful feeling, it's still a good feeling to have, even after all these years. And yeah, I think, meeting a lot of people at demo party, that's something a newcomer, I think, because I think that might also be the thing that makes people fall in love with the demo scene, instead of just like, and wanting to do something instead of just watching demos.
What would you like to see more of at future demo parties? Anything missing?
Not maybe missing, but I think Revision has quite a good that they have like these beginners corners, and that's something that we probably should have more. I think a lot of parties do have some kind of that, but more like taking possible newcomers into account even more, and also kind of having these beginner compos, or at least showcases for people who might be too intimidated to submitting anything to the, for example, the big demo compo, but having at least some kind of compos or activities for them too.
I agree.
Just to get people to do stuff and more like workshops.
Yeah.
Because I think all these talks are good, the lectures, but workshops where someone actually helps you to do something, I think that would be good.
Definitely. If someone watching this interview wanted to organize their own demo party, what advice would you give them?
At least visit a few parties and ask for help. Because there's a lot of stuff you don't really see when visiting, so it's good to at least talk to someone and start small. That's what or join some other demo party as an organizer, help them out, because I think that would be very valuable.
Over to Cyberwolf. Where did the idea come from originally?
It started off as I was trying to make a fast Wolf 3D renderer without the ray casting itself. It only how to render the walls fast enough. It was never supposed to become a game or anything. It was just a tech demo for me, and I already early versions were in a couple of our demos, like in I think Super Original by Supergroup had a Wolf 3D like a renderer but without the ray casting. And I posted some previews up on the English Amiga board, and I got some good I got some good feedback there and suggestions for improvements, and I got the rendering part itself pretty fast. So then I thought, well, I could try to make a raycaster, and when I had done that, I thought, well, let's at least make some kind of game preview out of it. So yeah, but yeah, of course, Wolfenstein 3D is the is the main inspiration there.
Yeah. The 2019 preview already impressed a lot of people with how smoothly it ran on an A500. What was the biggest challenge in getting that performance?
Yeah, getting the rendering part done, and then the raycaster getting it fast enough, and yeah. Of course, it's not the optimal even yet. It's still a lot of room for improvement, but I thought it was good enough as it was back then. But yeah, I have done some improvements, but I haven't released those yet, and because we lost or Dorke, who did the graphics, I haven't heard from him in a couple of years now. So if we will continue the project, we will probably either replace the graphics with new ones, or if I get in touch with him again and get him to finish off the graphics that he started, then, well, let's see.
Yeah. How different is writing a game compared to writing a demo?
Very different, because you have to take the interactivity into account. When writing a demo, you have a certain flow that you can go with, and you can take way more shortcuts when it comes to demos, because you don't have to think about what will the gamer or user do. And yeah, it's so much more to like take into account. And for example, the AI that I use in the Cyberwolf is really bad. and that's a whole different kind of programming than just the like graphical part.
Yeah. Has the vision for the game changed since the first preview?
Not really. It's still, well, of course, we haven't worked that much on it since 2019, other than I've done some bug fix and stuff like that. But I think it's still like we never wanted it to be like a straight Wolfenstein 3D clone. That we wanted to have some kind of different mechanics of it. So we were talking with my brother that in case we don't continue the game as is, we will use the like a 3D engine for something else and try to figure out some kind of different game out of it. But that would not, of course, will not be Cyberwolf.
Okay. If the finished Cyberwolf releases tomorrow, what do you hope players will say after playing it for the first time?
Sorry, I didn't hear that question.
If the finished game was released tomorrow, what would you hope the players would say after playing it for the first time?
Wow. No, I will hope that we will find it to be an enjoyable game, and that I hope they would think that the gameplay itself works. That it doesn't feel like a tech demo.
Yeah. Okay, well, they're in the end here. Do you think the internet has changed creativity for the better or worse?
I think, well, it's a two-pronged question in the sense that it has improved things because it's so much easier to find like tutorials, find help, to find like documentation, and that has helped. But at the same time, with all social media and stuff, it takes the attention away. So I usually, for example, if I need to concentrate on coding, I turn off all the messengers and WhatsApps and everything, and put my phone on silent because I don't want to be disturbed. But yeah, it has created a lot of distraction, but it also is a valuable like resource.
What are your thoughts on AI?
Oh, it's a subject I shouldn't touch. But yeah, I don't really. I mean, I'm not for and I'm not against. Like, it's not black and white for me. I do think there are uses for AI. I don't like the companies behind the big services at the moment. So I'm kind of waiting for people to be able to host their own LLMs and stuff like that more, because there are useful cases, but in creative like fields, I don't really see much of the use the benefit of using AI, because for me, when it comes to demos, at least, I want to create them. I want to stand behind them like 100%. I want to know that I achieved this, not that I prompted something. But there has been some good points that using AI to like create the, what should we say, the kind of the startup code that just opens a screen and plays a song, and then you do the creative stuff. I don't see any harm in that, as long as you double check the code that the AI has created, that it doesn't do anything like nasty.
Yeah. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't try to figure everything out yourself. It's okay to read books and tutorials, because in the early days, especially in the 90s, I wanted to figure out everything by myself, but I think I would have evolved a bit quicker if I would have swallowed my pride and read a few tutorials.
Any shout-outs or greetings you'd like to send?
Hey, greetings to everyone I know and everyone who knows me, and especially all the retro sceners out there.
Okay. That's it. Thanks for taking the time.
Okay, thank you for having me.